Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd like to welcome here James Rojas Taylor. He's an actor, and he uses acting in a very special way. I'm going to let him explain that. But, Jim, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, this idea that I'm kind of hanging on to, I kind of traced all the way back. It really goes back to when I was little, when age 4. When I was 4, the concept of eternity kind of tripped me out. My parents took me to midnight mass. It was too much for my little brain to handle. I couldn't deal with the fact that if there's no end, there's no middle, it's only perpetual beginning. That means at some point in time I'll do everything many times over and go insane with boredom. So what I did was I kind of regressed into my head and started using my own brain instinctively like a computer and started creating programs for myself. And two of the most predominant programs, the first ones were my suit and bubbles. My suits were essentially versions of myself. Anytime I met someone, I would copy anything I could from them mentally and emotionally and recreate them as me. And then my bubbles were essentially like the holodeck in the Star Trek universe. Anytime, any place, any situation, whatever I wanted. So I would take these suits of myself, put them in bubbles, and just run scenarios. So anytime I need to do anything, I'd grab some suits and bubbles. I'd find out how many different ways I could do it. What are the best choices I can make in that situation? That's how I advanced forward. When I got into acting, that was 2003. I didn't really pick up on it at first. I had this issue called hiccuping that I said because I was hiccuping while acting, which I didn't realize it at the time was because I was trying to act when I shouldn't have been, because I already inherently had these tools and techniques I should be trying to be. And it all kind of came to a head in 2008 when I was doing this film called Hunger. And there was this actor, Lyndon Ashby, and he was being filmed. I was in the scene too, but I was off camera. I remember when the director yelled cut, man, he just reached over, shook my hand like I pulled his kid out of a fire, and I didn't understand it at first. But it took me a couple of weeks to realize what had happened was, yeah, I wasn't in character in that moment, but I was present in the moment. I was there with him when I was speaking. What happens in those situations a lot is the actor working opposite the person on camera, the one who's off camera, just kind of, half-asses the lines. So the actor on camera is getting the best work handed to him. So the actor off camera is not giving enough to the actor on camera. So I was giving to him, not realizing. And that was the gratitude. But it was that moment that made me realize that my suits were essentially characters. My bubbles were a version of the Stanislavski magic gift exercise. It's when I realized that everything that I learned in my life was teachable through these tools and techniques. I just didn't realize they were connected yet. Basically, what I'm getting to is I realized that, when humanity was given written literacy, the alphabet, language, it changed humanity. When we gave them mathematical literacy, it changed humanity. What I'm saying is we can take these tools and techniques and give humanity mental and emotional literacy. It's kind of like the human brain is a supercomputer, right? These
Right.
tools and techniques are Windows. They're Linux, Red Hat. This is the operating system to that supercomputer. So instead of sending people out there writing line code, why don't we give an operating system that makes their mind and emotions more accessible with tools and techniques that were created by actual masters in their field? You got to appreciate people don't look for acting to give us, tools and knowledge. But if you look at a metal worker, they work with metal. If they work with glass worker, works with glass. A musician works with instruments, composition. An actor works with the human mind and emotions. That's the marble that we chisel. So we've basically created these tools and techniques to feel real emotions in imaginary circumstances, to build a real working mindset for use on the stage. But here's the rub. We don't have a mind and emotions for the stage and a second one for entertainment. If we have tools and techniques that can manipulate this supercomputer, well, then we can use it for everyone else. And I think that's what they missed. That's what overlooked. When these people created these techniques, Meisner, Stanislavski, Adler, when they created these, they were just creating it for actors, but they had no idea that the implications reach far beyond to everyone else because we don't have a mind and emotions, but we don't know how to use them. It's kind of like how people have smartphones, but they only use 10% of them. That's
Mm-hmm.
how the brain, we can access it a lot more. We just need to have the tools to get to them. Because like when you go to a gym and you want to build your muscles up, you do different exercise. Emotions are the same way. If you exercise your emotions by feeling them, you start out small but you gain mastery of them and they grow in strength. It's an energy. It's like flavored energy. That's the best way I know how to describe emotions. And when you get to that point where you can summon it and call on it, people will recognize it in you as intensity, passion. Like, oh, you're so intense. Oh, you're so passionate. It's like, yeah, because I'm drawing these emotions up. And when you do that, you can affect people. So, like, if you're trying to get in front of a stage, activate your passion. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I could be passionate talking about paint drying on a wall. It doesn't matter what it is because it's just emotion that I'm injecting into it. Learn that emotional mastery. Boom, you got it. And also think about like adolescence. How many generations, how many thousands of years have our children gone through adolescence without anyone ever explaining how their emotions work? And it's like 100 years ago, because again, that's one thing I forgot to mention. It's like, if you look at Western acting, it's got like a 2,500 year. The first 2,100 years is what most people think acting is. It's representation, masking, pretending. Over 300 years after that, in the Victorian area, it moved to realism. But the last 100 years through this gentleman named Constantine Stanislavski. And now it's about being and becoming. To me, acting it's a dated term. We're not acting. We're not representing. We're becoming someone else, mentally and emotionally. That's the goal, and that's what the master actors do. So if they can do that, that means they're the proof. And there's also a lot of other proof too. Like there's a place called Trauma Drama up in Massachusetts, where it takes acting tools and techniques and it gives them to kids, teens who've been dealt with serious traumas. Now, they use these tools and techniques to create imaginary traumas, to teach these kids how to deal with these traumas, to develop the tools and techniques to deal with traumas. That way they can take those tools and techniques and go back and deal with their own trauma. You don't want them to deal with their trauma as they're developing the tools and techniques because that's just going to wound them more. So that's the goal of trauma drama. Take them somewhere else that's not near their trauma so they can't be hurt by it, and then teach them. But again, if we taught these to the teens before the trauma happened, they may have been able to block the trauma in the first place or at least be more resilient to it. There's also sense theater that's teaching kids with autism using acting techniques. Now, the understanding with this is kind of like when you have a play, you have a script, and that's what the actor goes by. That's it givens. Now, improv doesn't have a script. And sometimes you have to do a 2-hour show with a beginning, middle, and end that's coherent for the audience to see like that. The way you do that is by understanding how the play works. You don't have a script, so you understand mechanics. That's what sense theater is doing. What it's doing is taking these kids with autism and teaching them how society works. These are the rules of society. It's kind of like pulling back the curtain, so they don't have to pick up on social cues so much. They can just, oh, okay, this is what I do in this situation. So it's bringing the theatrical experience that way. And there's also Dr. Joseph Levy Moreno back in the 1950s. He created psychodrama. Psychodrama is literally just taking acting techniques and putting in the group therapy environment so it allows them to play out different things, because it's one thing to talk to someone, talk therapy. It's completely different if you act it out. Different things pop out that you won't realize because of just being in the sense of performance, or it'll make you being able to put your body into it changes things. So there's actual places all across the country that's showing where acting techniques work. I'm just saying, why just stop with the broken people? If this stuff works, give it to everyone. It's like giving math and reading to everyone. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm just trying to build myself or build my voice to that.
If someone is dealing with an emotion like myself, I have an anger issue. I try my best to think before I say anything or act, but sometimes it is so hard to control it. Would your techniques be able to help me better control that anger?
Absolutely. I will add one caveat, the clinical term. Like there's clinical depression. There's you deal with medicine for that. But someone dealing with regular anger, common depression, common emotions, yes, 100% these tools and techniques work. It's just kind of like saying, this is an example, not just you, but just in general. Someone has an anger issue because they've been repressing that anger for 20, 30, 40 years, right? Well, guess what? Anger is really strong now. That anger is at level 50 while you've been repressing it. And that's why you can't deal with it, because you have personally, your anger is at level 50, but you're at level 1. So you have to grow yourself. So it's kind of like going to the gym and say, oh, I want to bench press 400 pounds. No, you ain't. You got to get in there and you got to do 10 pounds. You got to do 20 pounds, 45 pounds. Find wherever you are to start with and meet it there. So in a sense, what you would do was like I kind of like I did. You would use Stanislavski's magic gift. I use a bubble. I would create a different environment inside myself, away from that anchor. Because that's all this is. It's thought experiments. It's getting inside your head, using your imagination to do work for you. So basically, I would go to a place where I'm not that angry, and I would deal with anger in its infancy. That would be like me going to the gym and doing like just lifting the 45-pound bar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna anger, deal with that anger, commune with it, and look at it. Because like I said, you have to feel it, you have to understand it, but don't walk up to this guy and say, "Hey, I want to feel you," because then that you start breaking things. But if you take it into a different realm in your mind, because have you ever seen the Doctor Strange films?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like the concept of the mirror universe. You're
Hmm.
creating your own mirror universe in your head. So where you can't do any damage because you've created it. It's what trauma drama does. It creates a realm in your head where you can't do damage, your own personal mirror dimension. So when you do that, you go in there and you deal with your anger in its infancy. Go to level 1. This is what anger feels like. I'm going to feel anger on its lowest level and just grow and lift those weights, lift that anger so you can get to level 20, till you get to level 30. So you walk up to that anger at level 50 and it's nothing, and you just grab it by the neck and you say down. It's your emotions. You are the one who controls them. But you do have to develop the skill, because everything in life is a learned skill, even your emotions.
Yeah, my problem is I will suppress it for so long, and then once it's like shaking up that soda water bottle,
Yeah,
eventually it's going to spew, and that's what happens. I will hold back, and then finally something happens that I let loose.
yeah, exactly. Because, like you said, you're holding it back. You're not dealing with it. You're not looking it in the eye. You're not engaging with it. You have to, but you don't want to engage it on the level 50 form. You got to
Right.
go into separate space and deal with anger itself within you on level 1. Don't deal with the anger that's because this anger that's built up. It's like this is where acting and psychology go hand in hand. They really do. Ever since Stanislavski, they've joined. Like actors look to psychology, psychologists look to actors. There's a lot of hand in hand knowledge transfer. But basically, it's like what I said: just get in there, do the work, do these exercises, feel those emotions. You will like it. It won't take long to realize that change, because right now it's that point where you're unaware. This level 50 anger, it's coming from somewhere. Do you know where it's coming from?
Well, I have theories on it. You know, I've been pretty open about my past. I was molested when I was a child, and I kind of went into a bubble where I was very socially awkward, and I got pushed around a lot. And then I don't know, one day something clicked in my brain. It was like I didn't have to deal with that anymore. And then I went from standing up to kind of being a bully myself. And I'm trying not to be that person.
Well, it's also, it's like you're who you're around. It's what you learned through those experiences, even though they were bad. That's, I mean, because they were bad, that's what you learned. So it's natural to grow that direction. But again, it's a choice in the aspect of, if you know what better choices are, you have the ability to make better choices. And
Right.
that's what techniques do. They allow you to break down a moment so you can see all the choices available, so you can make better choices. Because how are you going to know otherwise? Who teaches you? After all those terrible things that happened to you, who sits down and says, hey, little Jimmy, this is how your emotions work. Hey, little Susie, this is how your mind works. These are the better directions you can go in. We don't get those classes. We just have to, especially people who are damaged and suffer trauma. You have to fight alone, because once that happens, even though you're a victim, doesn't matter. Now you're a different. Now you're an other. You're one of the unclean ones. So you generally get pushed to the side anyway. It's hard to find help unless you're like in a built-up urban area where there's a lot of people who are empathetic. Because most people say they're empathetic, but they're not really empathetic. They say the word, because empathy is understanding.
Yeah.
That's what empathy is. If someone can't, it's kind of like Stephen R. Covey, seek first to understand, then to be understood. If somebody can't explain to you what you're saying back to you and make you say, yeah, that's it, they don't have empathy. Because it's work. Empathy is a lot of work. It's not easy. It's not, oh, I feel bad. No. It's, I can see where I would be in your shoes, how it would look. Psychodrama. It's getting into someone else's skin. And that's what we don't do enough of. And because we don't do enough of that, we don't have the capability to help foster someone who's gone through that pain. That's why I'm saying tools and techniques are so important. They give us that mental and emotional literacy to where we can develop ourselves as an individual to foster other people, to help other people grow. Because, if I'm a mathematician, it's easy for someone with me to teach math. You know what I'm saying? So if we start teaching these tools and techniques alongside, math and science in schools, we will raise a whole generation of people that are more mentally and emotionally capable than we've ever seen before.
So when I come across an instance where I get upset and I do suppress it, I shouldn't just let it pass. I should go somewhere and deal with it right after that happens.
I wouldn't even say why wait. It's like, you don't want to go to the gym right before the big competition, do you? Like,
Of course not.
yeah. So like right now, every day, because to me, this is a lifestyle. So you want to do it constantly. Like the techniques we use are to break down a moment. It's every moment, every moment that passes. Think of it like this. It's kind of like a sonar. A submarine's underwater, can't see anything. So it sends out a ping. The ping tells it where other submarines are, where the surface are. Are they dropping depth charges? Is there a whale there? Where's the ground? Let me rattle this off real quick. This is the Stanislavski system, 7 questions. And I'll connect it to what you're saying in just a second. Um, this is how we break down a moment. And like I said, as I read these questions, you'll see these are life questions. These aren't just acting questions, but this is how seriously we take acting. Number 1, who am I? This is the moment in relation to you. Who you are in the moment. What's the role you play in the moment? Are you a dad, a father, a friend? Why are you there in the moment? Where am I? This is the moment in relation to the environment. What's going on in the environment? Are there any patterns? Is there like a certain like am I about to go out into traffic during rush hour, stuff like that? When is it? Am I about to talk to my boss right about a difficult subject right before he's had something to eat? What time is it? Not just like mental time, like what's going on in the time frame you're in that moment. Number 4, what do I want? This is the moment in relation to purpose. And it's like I said, what do I want? There's so many people asking, well, what do you want? I don't know. I never thought about it. How can you not think about what you want in life? Number 5 is just as important. Why do I want? This is the moment in relation to desire. If you can't differentiate, someone can manipulate you and have you doing their want because it's their why for your want because you're not paying attention. Number 6, how do I get it? This is the moment in relation to action because planning is important. You can talk all day long. If you're not acting, nothing's going to happen. And number 7, what's in my way? This is the moment in relation to obstacles. Am I going to a job interview? Who else is interviewing with me? What skills do they have that I don't have? So basically, what the Stanislavski system does is teaches you situational awareness. So it's breaking down every moment you're in to send that ping out to see the information you have. And I say this to you because when you're in those moments of anger, it's just like therapy. Turn these questions on that moment of anger. What's going on here? Where am I in this moment of anger? Where is it coming from? Why is it happening right now? And you don't have to stick to these 7 questions. Stanislavski even said, he says, don't stick slavishly to my techniques. Find your own. So find questions that open you up, because that's the whole point of this. It's kind of like that Jungian idea of self-actualization. It's about opening you up, because all that pain and trauma that happened in you, you have a good idea where it came from, but again, you may not all of it. It may be other stuff. And 2, you may be hurting from damage you've caused other people that you don't realize. Because during that journey, you may have hurt other people. So inherently inside, that. So it's opening yourself up to the point to where you can see that within you, because these tools and techniques are to take apart a character. If you look at it in life, you're the character in your life. So if you use them to take apart you can develop yourself. You can find out where that anger is coming from, isolate it and extract it. And like I said, on the side, if you're practicing that lifestyle where you're developing your ability to deal with anger, you'll get to the point where your ability to deal with anger is at level 50, your anger is at level 50, it's no longer a problem.
Now, real quick, do you work with people one-on-one?
I used to in different capacities. Here recently, no. I'm kind of resetting life. I had an issue with a job, an employer. I had to leave that situation, so I'm rebuilding. But I worked through the school with kids and teens for a while, for a year at the local school system. I taught classes there, and at first it was acting, but then this is where I kind of started cutting my teeth and teaching it as a lifestyle. So I have worked one-on-one in the past, but it's been a little while.
But you have an ebook?
I do, yes. I have an ebook and a physical book. It's called All Your Best Selves. The book is broken down into 3 parts. The first part is autobiographical. It kind of talks about my life in relation to this idea. The second part of the book is the idea, and the third part is what I refer to as the intangible toolbox. I talk about 3 of the masters, Stanislavski, Meisner, and Hagen. I break down their exercises and show how they work with actors. And alongside that, I show how they work in life with exercises. So you take this intangible toolbox and use it in your life at that moment. Like I said, it's like these are all tools and techniques that are working to develop you as a human.
All right. And do you have a website?
Yes, www.tbcenterprises.com. That's TBC is in Tango Bravo Charlie. I also have a social media I started. I'm kind of getting new to it. I'm a Gen Xer, so tech is I'm slow into it.
I
My
understand.
handle, yeah, it's not my niche, but I mean, I got to roll with it. And like this podcasting thing is doing pretty well because I've kind of been stagnant, trying to figure out how to get the idea out. Now I've like had 12 podcasts since I started in the beginning of the month, and I got 12 more. So I'm excited to be moving forward with the idea.
I'm going to put all of your links in the description to make it easier for folks to find you. But Jim, this has been awesome, man.
Thank you. Like I said, like I feel like I tripped over gold, and but it shouldn't come like I'm not the hero this idea needs. I'm the hobo it has, and I don't know how to turn that around, because I really feel like someone smarter than me should have picked up on this a long time ago. But it's hanging out with the theater kids, so nobody's paying attention to it.
I hear you. Well, again, I really appreciate your time.
Now, likewise, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity to get this word out.
Of course, of course. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button for my regulars. You guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network